Hi everybody, my name is Nyari or Tina. So I was excited when I got to be called to come and be part of this particular show of the Pink Diaries. And I was asked to talk about something I'm pretty passionate about, which is marriage. And it's supposed to be, I think, to do with preparation for marriage, which is a big deal for everybody.
So you already know what it is. My name is Shishingwale, and it's great to be back with the girls, chilling. Shita noise, shita nyaya, controversy, the drama, and all that. It's so nice being back to the TSA, and I haven't been around because Tangachimbuitas were married. We left the streets, guys. Tagabagma streets. Short words, but you know, marriage had to happen. I remember that time, but I said, "Hey, there's a guys, so you must do it shake." But anyway, it's great to be here. And thank you guys for the support that you've been giving us as Pink Diaries. We love you and would love to hear more of your comments and all the feedback that you're giving us. So stay tuned and hear all the drama that we bring today as we talk about marriage. Marriage.
Hey, what's up?
This is going to be an exciting conversation.
Yes, it will.
I love that we have different faces on set today, and we're going to be talking about something very interesting about marriage.
A hot topic.
How to get ready, or who makes you ready, or how do you then find yourself, ready for marriage?
What is being ready for marriage?
Ask my producer, y'all. I'm just doing my job.
What is being ready for marriage?
You know what I think is being ready for marriage is setting yourself up for a successful marriage. So it's a mindset. Because I have my sister who's always said, you don't marry a man, you don't marry a man's car or his job or his family, you marry his mind. So it's always the mindset. Are you ready to actually get into this and to give up some of the privileges you had as a single person and to take on new responsibilities and to account to someone?
That's scary.
That's
mindset.
hectic. Yeah.
I don't believe in the institute.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm so happy for you. You just got married.
Yay.
I 100% believe in commitment. Having lived the life that I have lived, and remember, I became who I am, not being in Zimbabwe. I became, California. You are a product of environment, and California greatly influenced who I am, Semkazi,
Right.
and what I do and
Yes.
So I also come from a very polygamous background. Right, even back from you know what I mean? My grandfather had 13 wives. My father had a polygamous background, even though we never lived together in a commune, so to speak. But and then they would leave, but he kept us. Why we are close as a unit is because he said, "Well, now don't go anywhere. You can pack and go, but you stay," which has its pros and cons at the end of the day. But so when I tell you that I don't believe in the institute, I'm not saying I don't believe. For me, I'm not saying I don't believe in it, as in the commitment, as in the essence of it, but institute at Vovo, the one that says you cannot one for one in the chapter what because the world I'm living in now.
You're being more realistic.
Yeah, not just I'm being practical.
Yeah, practical.
Not just as the world I'm living, but also as a human being. And don't get me wrong, people are going to say, "Oh, but he's a Christian." But I'm very much of the Christian faith.
Yeah.
I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual.
Yeah.
And I'm very much in touch. Also,
Right.
So
Right.
I like how I always love to know because she brings up this open-mindedness to life. This
Which can be shocking sometimes.
But I mean, because I've known you for a long time, it's not shocking for me, so I understand.
Yeah.
But what about some of the challenges then that come with the open-mindedness? We are living in this new free world, and where you don't look at marriage as an institution, but there's also some other things that are coming up, you know, open relationship and different things like that. How do you apply that, and how do you handle it when
And where does it end?
Which
with all
makes
that
it-
open
open relationship, guys, is that marriage? Hapana marriage knows open relationship.
It's not
So
marriage.
there's my point. Therein lies the institution is where
Yeah.
I have an issue with.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You know, maybe I can just come in there. Our law in Zimbabwe is a great law because it gives you a choice.
The new law.
No,
or
no,
the
no.
amended
It's
law.
always been there.
Okay.
It's always been there. It's still there now. You can have a monogamous marriage, right? Which you commit to and say, "I've forsaken all others, da da da." And you can have
Which is
a
Yekuma court.
potentially, sorry,
Yekuma court.
Zesen that's Yekuma court.
Okay.
So this is registered, right? And it's a civil marriage, right? And Ndoya Kawaya Varungu when they came in, and then, you know, you can actually commit to that. And then you have the potentially polygamous one. Okay, in chapter 238 or chapter 507, whatever now. It means should the man want to add more wives, he can. But right from the onset, you know, and somebody else might come. You see what I mean? So if you choose to go monogamous, right, in that institution, then the law expects you to abide by your choice because you had the other choice to be potentially polygamous.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I think it makes it a lot easier, you know, within our you know our environment,
Yeah,
and
I like
also it brings in our cultural background,
Yeah.
you know, because like you're saying, you're coming from a polygamous, you know, background. But the way we would say it is, I come from a polygamous background. Like, isn't that terrible? But it's part of our culture.
part
Do you
of-
know what I
yeah.
mean?
It worked great.
It's part of it. It's got
It
pros
works
and
for a lot of
cons.
people,
It
I
has
bet.
pros and cons, but it's where you're coming from, and that's actually a reflection of what our culture is, right? But then there's this other option now, Yakasoya. You know, you can have one woman, one husband, or one wife, right? One wife, one husband. Am I saying that?
Monogamous, correct.
Yeah, yeah, right. One, and it's monogamous. Don't commit to that if you don't mean it. And the law just asks you to say, look, whatever you had a choice, stick by your choice because somebody else made their choice based on what you agreed, and I think that works.
Chichi.
girl?
You
recently got
Come
married.
this year, you know, just now. Which of these laws did you pick when
Did you
picked?
even think of the laws? I think we don't even think. You just want to be with your person. You don't want to be booed up.
No, I didn't. No, honestly, honestly, I didn't really. I think as I was growing up, I got to a point, I think when I was somewhere 26, 27, 28, when I was like, I want to get married, I want to get married, I want to get married. And at that time, I thought I was ready, and I was there in my mindset. I thought, yeah, because also my friends
At
were
26, you were
Yeah.
thinking, let me get married.
Yeah.
Me at 23.
Yeah.
And I didn't get married.
We were under pressure at 22.
You see now, so I tell you at 26, 27, I already knew where my wedding dress was coming from, the colors, the venue. The only thing that was missing on the board was the dude. Everything else I knew with.
It was sorted.
You see now. And then when I got to 29, the person I was with then did not have the same mentality. Because in my mind I was thinking, guy, let's go. Let's go. And to him it was, nah, we're not ready, we're not ready, we're not ready. And then one of these days I answered the DM and bam, it happened.
Whoop.
The person that you were at 26, the person who wanted this marriage and was waiting for the guy to put on the board, the woman you are now, who got married now. In retrospect, Chasanyaye marriage, is that the same woman?
Yes.
Really?
Wow.
Yes. Do you know why I will say that?
Wow.
Because I noticed something. As women, there's always that thing that people say women mature faster. At 20 something, you already know where your life is going. And for some reason, women
You
get
do?
yeah, no, honestly, no. For
You were
some-
chasing a
special.
career.
yeah,
You
do you
were
know why?
chasing a career.
That's why you find certain people get married at 21
Yeah.
and 22 or 23 because at that time they're thinking, I've achieved this and this and this. The rest can come whilst I'm in the institution. And then someone told you, now I want to get married to my 30s because I want to have my kids when I'm there. That kids are going to kids and all that and all that. So I'm thinking at that time in 26, and I was thinking, I wanted to because I thought to myself, guys, I've got this, I've got this. Anything else that I require will happen in marriage. 27, I was still like,
I think
let's come through. By the time I got to 30 now, I'm like, okay, married, then came through. But then what then helped is, the same time I was thinking marriage. And then when I noticed, okay, the person I'm with now, I'm crying out marriage, but then he's not there because in his mind, he still hasn't grown to want that.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him.
And that's okay.
And that was
that's
fine.
actually okay.
And then I got to meet somebody else who was ready for the same stuff that I wanted
At that,
at that time. And it didn't even take long.
Okay.
It
Wham,
then happened.
bang,
Bam,
bang.
bam. Because we were two people who were like, you know what? I've done this. I want to do this. Would you want to do this with me? Sure, Bo, let's do it. Because he had his own experiences with life and he got to a point where he was saying, I need to settle, I need a wife. I had gone through 1, 2, 3, I'm like, I need to be someone's wife. So preparation and whatnot, I think when you just get to meet the right person, then you're ready for it to take it and go. So good times, right?
I understand what Tino was also trying to say in that when I really wanted marriage, I was like 23, guys. Then go, guys.
Hold on. This is important because we see it all the time on social media. I see it all the time. And I'm saying it now because you know what? I've lived my life. I'm living my life, and I had. I'm so grateful I have the kids now. I struggled to have the children. So really, when I say my life began at 40, literally,
It did.
my life.
No, I was
But my
saying
point
that
is
when I was 23, I really wanted marriage.
Wait, Chira Goman, what I'm saying it now. What is it? Why?
Okay. I then realized, so when at 23, well, now I
Why?
realize why I wanted it then. Then you don't think about it.
Tell me what you were thinking at
You were-
22.
All your friends could church.
Thank you.
Therein
Therein lies my
point.
point. Therein lies
But
my
they're
point.
pairing up, and remember, at 23 I was a single mom already.
Right.
So ku church kwedu ndakatonzi.
You had- you-
Makomana wese vaitoudzwa uyo
Don't touch.
aiwa kuti uyu.
What you needed an
Chakaku.
escape.
And then all my other friends, you know, they're getting married,
Nikuperekeza
23, 24,
mchato.
ndanzwa nikuperekeza mchato, my kitchen shower. Guys, those kitchen parties, those women sometimes, vanotaura ka.
Okay, you know.
You are the woman that I'm going there.
I don't go there.
And
I
we
haven't
have to,
gone
and we
to
have
one
to
in a
change
while.
the narrative for
Yes,
the
we
younger
have
people.
to. So when I then got married,
At what? How many years
I got
after
married
the 22?
at 28.
Right.
I wasn't
I
even
trust
really
28.
thinking about it. Like, it wasn't like so I met my husband. That time, Pandai Namata, 23, 24.
Kugoma where?
Yes, very busy. Kuko. Then we broke up. Then I was like, let me enjoy my life. Then husband came back whilst I was enjoying my life.
Right.
And although we had the conversation, because you know what, we are doing this, and I think we should just, do it properly. But
Okay,
it wasn't like I
you
didn't
know-
have other factors that were pushing me.
I'll tell you
to say,
something.
That,
I
already
totally
that is
hear
enough
you.
factor for me. That fact that everybody in church was
Yeah,
doing it and
at
that
23
you were
usually.
being said,
And the pressure is real. The pressure is very
pressure
real.
was real.
But then now for me, when I was in my 20s, I dated, people, and looking back, I remember everybody that I dated proposed.
Really?
And that was the time the relationship broke. And I never understood why I get so...
Thank you.
I get so...
Yes.
I'd be so nervous
I'm
whenever
normal.
a guy would propose. Because
get
then I
nervous.
figured out, I'd get nervous when a guy proposed. We're dating and I like him and stuff. That's when I realized that no, the issue with me was I wasn't defined. So I was kind of like that runaway bride kind of girl. So if the guy liked soccer, I was into soccer. I knew all of them.
If he
know,
was
Anna-
menu, you
Anna
were menu.
Grobela. Yes, if I was whatever.
When
You know
he's
what I
Arsenal,
mean?
you're Arsenal.
That's it. And, so I think the reality of that person taking me in that full state, of just being enmeshed into whatever he was, it was like, you know, reality check. Kuti, what are you bringing into this marriage? You know, are you even like an individual? So I needed to be defined. I needed to know what I like outside of a marriage relationship and outside of anybody else.
Yeah.
And until I became defined, which happened around 28, 29,
Yeah.
Shucks.
I was not
Such a late bloomer.
You are.
I was not ready. And guys, you know, I broke hearts, I did. But it was okay because for me, I just knew that I would. I just was not in that space where I understood who I was. And I was going to be a disaster in marriage because then I was always going to be asking my big sisters, Kuti, so what do I do with this situation?
Yeah.
Or ask my mom. And sometimes, not that that kind of advice is bad, but you really need to kind of like know yourself. And if somebody then comes and tells you something different,
It can be a problem.
you know, then
sometimes, yeah.
you know, I should be able
Because
to
every
stand on my
relationship
2
has got its
feet.
own dynamics.
Precisely, you know.
Actually, for the first time in my life, I am so, what you said, I'm so content in my
Yes.
relationship.
So my
I
question
don't, hold on baby, I
goes
don't
back-
have a chapter, whatever it is. I didn't go to court. There is that understand that if the family is very aware.
Yeah.
I'm with my partner, and I always address him as my partner with social
Yeah.
media, whatever, that's my partner.
Right.
And I'm also, in a way, I always say I'm so grateful and I'm tupo because, well, I did call him a dolphin. Anyway.
He's a 0-0.
Yes, that's what I changed.
Yeah.
That's another topic.
There's a whole other topic.
But my point
Yeah.
is, number one, I wish that us having this discussion, there was the other representation. Because we're sitting here saying preparing for marriage, and I've
Yeah.
heard, especially Chichi Sam, that, and I thought a statement came in, no, so I thought, you know, I'm reading now, I've had all the fun, no. I am not in this chapter where legally, but the fun that I'm having, why is it that it is the implications of being married and having fun? Why is it separate? What is that about?
No, I think
It's
like
real.
what she started.
What is
like,
that about?
There's
It's
something
real.
that you said, you know. You said institutionalizing it. I think maybe that's maybe from the different backgrounds that we come from, we feel maybe we need to, you know, legalize it,
Because society-
So no, we're having a good time.
Society
No,
has
I
made it
have
be
an
like that.
amazing time still.
Do you know
and
what,
I
Tina?
also believe in partnerships. In
you
as
know-
much as I'm married, I personally actually believe in partnerships because I've seen a lot of people who are in a situation such as yours who are thriving in their partnership and they're buying properties. You might think that maybe because there's no legal in it, it's impossible. But I think
legally, there is now illegal.
these ones, they don't like it.
Yeah, there is a legal
There's
one,
some
though.
people
I
who
don't have
say,
to
hey,
have this
Sha,
for me to get my section."
Well-
buy. You take your stuff, I take my stuff. That's it.
Aye.
In a
Okay.
partnership, for some people.
Legally, let's hear, that doesn't
Okay,
make no
okay.
more.
No,
Now,
we
wait,
know
wait,
it's a
wait.
legal
Talk to me.
paperwork for
Talk to
years
me. Talk to me. Talk to
situation.
me. Okay. Listen, guys. First of all, I want to talk to what Tino was referring to say how come when we're speaking of fun and marriage is like two worlds apart. It's the reality. It's so sad, you know, when I kid you not, because
Me, I
really
still
it's
have
like
fun 6 years later.
that would be the exception. The general rule is that when you get married, you know, if you used to go out, you don't. Because if you used to, you know, if you used to really be self-aware, then you don't.
Hello.
Maybe
And
it's
it's,
about responsibility
you know what?
more than
It's true,
activities. and
but
stuff.
unfortunately, it's like women literally give themselves up. You know,
Yeah.
and this is, I'm talking the general rule. There will be exceptions where people are having successful marriages. Even after 10 years, you see people are still having fun. They're still traveling together.
Yes.
It's shocking.
Yes.
But, you
Realizing
know,
that they're still developing, even though you're married, you're still developing as an individual. As a
precisely,
person.
and you
yes.
need to
You're
be
your
given
own unit.
space.
Yeah.
But most women can't, because I deal with a lot of women
Right.
who come and, you know, and they come and say, oh,
Right.
this is the problem I'm having. And that's why I can sort of give a general view
Yeah.
to say,
Thank you.
it is so sad. So if you're, I'm glad you got married when you're about 28, right? Do you know the maturity of 28 is totally different to the maturity of 23 and 22, and you're pretty much your own person by the time you're 28, you know, and so and 30. My goodness, it's such a perfect age. I think I actually used to say I don't think any woman should get married before she's 30, and I don't think guys should get married before they're 40. So you know, just because just this whole
I agree.
living, you know, just living through life and going through the stages of life, and people hurrying up and trying to role play, you know, that you don't even know what marriage is about. And so you're going to try and say, okay, so what does a good wife do? And why should a good wife not say? And what should I not argue with? That kind of thing. Speaking of marriage laws, okay, let me just say that very quickly. In Zimbabwe, there was an introduction of the civil partnerships thing, right? And that has caused a lot of gnashing of teeth and, you know,
Alarm
and despondence, exactly. But okay, guys, unfortunately, I have to tell you this, you know, as a legal expert, I have to tell you that it's not as amazing as people think that it is, because then suddenly people think that the law will recognize a small house, totally small house, an amarre, or that the law will recognize a partnership arrangement and actually have it as an institution. A partnership arrangement, unfortunately, is not a legal institution. It will only be recognized under strenuous circumstances and only at dissolution. So the court does not touch that. The court still says, you know, culturally, no, you shouldn't do that. If you're going to be together with a man or a woman, get married, okay? And no, you're not allowed to be a small house, etc., etc. But under certain circumstances where people are now breaking up and they're fighting over property, that's when the law or the courts will come and say, was this a civil partnership or not? So, and I've always said that I would say probably 95% of small houses would never qualify as civil partnerships because you need to have been living together in the same house for a long period of time.
Which is a partnership. Hello.
Well, yes, but that's only, it's only recognized for the purposes of settling property disputes.
But then how do you then look at it differently in that, okay, situations, Aripo, my husband, let's say, example, my husband has a small house, auntie. I need small house. I need small house.
Because
Nasim anoyeza raramba kwedu mangwana anoraramba kwe smalls the next day anoyamba kwedu mangwana anoraramba kwe smalls zvekuti maybe singaziyani maybe nichingofungira kuti meno zvaari kuitawo kunze life yekurarama nevanhu and uchikuti I don't know but kuti ndibvunzewo ameno so long as achizomboyo achititengera he's buying property in this house vanenge vaine mari ka buying property in this house buying property in that house. How then do you say, Kuti, this is his house or this is not his house? Okay. Which one is his house?
Easy peasy pie.
Matrimonial.
Because yes, where did you consider kumba, right?
Okay.
Uko ndekwe visa. Unaenda uko kana watora visa. Watsamusana nemunhu. Watinda kubuda pano pamba. And then you walk out and you go and you put up there, right?
Okay.
Guess what the law also says? It does talk about the degree of common residence. It talks about that you must be on a genuine domestic basis. Genuine. And then it talks about the reputation of the relationship. Can you believe that? So
Like
the law is actually moralizing.
I like
so
it.
if people, if you like that,
oh, you're scaring me.
You see, these are the things that we should have had a chat before we decided to put it.
No, but it's fine.
She's not complaining.
So if the relationship with a small house, everybody knows it's a small house, everybody curses it, everybody, you know, they don't approve of it. That can never be a civil partnership. Normally, I'll give you an example, a typical example.
Sorry, say that again? Because everybody else is deciding, it's
Like,
now law says that because others are deciding my relationship, because you guys have an opinion about my partnership. Is that what the law is saying? Or,
Oh yeah, that's what the law is saying. And
But amongst other factors.
Amongst other factors, okay, so the law is still, remember the law is a reflection of how we're living, okay? The law tries not to go ahead of you. So it's just a reflection of what's happening, and I don't want to say unfortunately or fortunately, but the reality is we are still very cultural. and
Yeah.
we still
And I
frown
like
on
that.
certain things. You know,
I like that.
and the law, as far as you can see, actually, you know, speaks to that and you know, reflects that. So yes, unfortunately, in this country, still partnerships are not considered. You know, and you don't attain any rights when you're in a partnership, except property rights if you actually put in a contribution.
What other rights would there be in a partnership besides property rights at moment of dispute? What other rights?
What are the rights? There would be, okay, where you're married and where you're not married.
In a partnership situation.
In a partnership just means you're not married, okay?
Yes,
And
so-
as opposed to somebody who actually does get married, what happens is when your partner
I see you getting ready. You see me when you ask me questions. I see you.
hang on, I'm coming to you. Listen, what happens is, you know
The way
what?
you're asking, I see you looking for a date right now. Like, okay, when? Because
Okay, let me
partnership is
explain
not
that.
doing well.
Let me take you out of the mist.
No, I want facts.
So that's it. So this is
can
what
take it.
happens when you're married. You know, like Sam here is married.
You were chapter
She will.
No, I did the
traditional.
traditional.
Yeah, I have to
chapter.
talk to you about that
Yeah.
one. I have
Yeah, it's
to. I
traditional.
have to talk to you guys about those ones.
Talk to him about
That's
it.
it.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, guys, let me just bring it out. Okay, where you are actually married and your marriage is registered. Okay,
Which means in
they
the court
are
or
in,
church.
in the court. In the court, church,
Everything is
whomever
court.
is the marriage officer, and now they've added on ambassadors
Ambassador,
to be
yes,
yes,
I
and
saw that.
chiefs,
And chiefs.
yes,
Hello.
to be yeah. So what happens is when you get married, if God forbid your partner dies, you automatically inherit
Become
the
surviving
matrimonial.
spouse.
You are the surviving spouse. You take the matrimonial home.
Matrimonial home
And
or
all
estate?
the no matrimonial
home.
home
Stage by stage.
and
I'm going through
household
it now with my
effects.
dad.
It's a much better kuronga.
Stage by stage.
Okay, so the matrimonial home, fine, and the household effects, all of them, right? Then the residue of the estate is what then
And this
that you
works
share
both
with the
ways.
kids.
For the man as well.
For the
If
man
wife
as well,
dies,
and
he automatically becomes surviving
But
spouse.
unfortunately, guys, I have to tell you guys this. The
You guys.
the new law requires that the minute you get married to a Bisirwa Fuma, you have to go and register in 3 months. Why? In
3 months.
In 3 months. Yes.
say that a little bit
Da-dum.
louder. Yeah, say it again.
3 months.
Say it
three,
again.
3 months. Okay,
Why,
in 3
why
months.
3 months?
Do you know why? Because from the facts that are there and my conclusion of it is actually your kinds of marriages are not recognized as marriages at law, but they are actually civil partnerships.
So I'm not married.
No,
Girl, him my
Not
husband.
him.
Him my husband. I'm married to him.
Okay,
Listen, now listen,
but I like it.
I
I like
need to
it.
explain
I like
that
how-
because we call these unregistered customary law unions. So the law doesn't even say marriage. So there are only 2 marriages that are actually recognized at law, and that's you're potentially polygamous, but it's registered customary. Then you go and register. That's your, but you need to know that it would be, oh, okay, you can still choose, will it be a civil or will it be potentially polygamous Pamnondo register. But right now, the way where you are right now, it is 100% potentially polygamous. So you can't argue kanapakaso ya mwemono because it's actually
I speak for Chichi.
yes.
She's still within the 3 months range.
When
Chichi
you,
Aruka.
no. When you say that you still can choose, who's you? Is it your husband? or-
Husband. There's no polyandry in Zimbabwe.
See.
No,
No,
husband.
husband, wako Chichi.
Eh.
Let me break it down for you, girl.
We'll choose.
Husband is still in that 3 months phase. Yekuti anogona kuti aiwaka. Madam. Inini ndazviita izvi, but I want somebody else. Not you saying I don't want somebody. He.
And
And
by
this is the law, girl.
by not having
By law, he would never.
Oh, nice. I
By law,
kudos,
the
girl.
right one.
Saka, what happens?
Amen to that.
What happens now?
Tenda ukomo nasamani. We'll bind and cast and burn.
Amen.
You will
Yeah.
And the law, will still maintain what?
Yeah, the law will still stick to
The
the
law
facts.
is the law.
So guys, if you
And
don't
God
go
is
and
still God.
if you don't go and register your marriage is
important.
and muchindonyoresa kuti isusu under 511, well, there's no more 511. It's now a chapter in the new act.
Okay.
But if you don't actually separate yourself and say isusu trukita monogamous marriage, it means chero akaita marwei uko anditika you can't sue her for adultery.
For adultery.
Because just by virtue of wabvisirwa fuma and you don't have a registered marriage or a certificate, iriku preclude everyone
count.
else is automatically potentially polygamous. Pakaipa.
If it's not written, it doesn't count. If it's not
So
written,
you
it
have
doesn't
to go
count.
and register. You have to go and
Hey.
register. That's just what it is. And I was like,
Yeah.
I know. Am I spoiling
Yeah.
your appetite?
How many years?
Are you guys still okay?
I'm on 6. I'm
You're on
going
your
on to
6th.
my 6th year.
And you don't have to
I'm
have a
well done,
wedding,
Sam.
by
Good
the
for
way.
you.
No,
Guys,
do you know what?
you don't
The
have to
problem
have-
is when, the wedding part. I think that's the problem. Society has made us think, oh, you have to have this big wedding. And for me, right now, I don't mind just doing it very much. Others, they want,
the
lights,
contrary.
But you
camera,
know what?
action.
I think there's more pressure panyaya kuvisirwa mali in our society than there is, which goes back to the preparation of marriage. I think that's
for
another
marriage,
thing.
yeah.
For me, pressure iripo, and it's so unfortunate because I look at the upcoming Zimbabwean woman,
Yeah.
you know, who is exposed, who is in your style and your mentality, because we're living in a global society.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have to leave the borders for you to know what's happening in Paris, or
No,
to
no,
know
you
what's
don't.
happening in Zanzibar.
Yeah.
So, but that pressure is not about, for me, the white dress anymore. Perhaps I think my generation, it was about, I remember, my mother would say,
Yeah.
but now, pressure for me looks at like it's nyayeku visirwa mari. You even see even the garb that everybody's wearing now.
Yeah.
Everything's about that Rora day.
the Rora day.
That pressure is being put on and sidetracking so many that I'm seeing around. I'm not patting myself on the shoulder, but I do get a privilege, such a privilege to mentor with the life that I have lived and
Yeah.
the journey that I'm traveling. A lot of our Zimbabwe, it doesn't matter if it's urban or rural, the girl child who is getting from, wapeds at your high school, not necessarily going into this tertiary universities.
Yeah.
The pressure that's there to just, number one, adding on to give her value.
Yes.
Already she's becoming that woman
Make
we're
an
talking about.
honest woman out of her.
Pressure
Yeah.
yo-yo,
Yeah.
and it's coming from church. It's coming from
church.
home. It's coming from your peers. She has
Church.
said herself at 22, all her friends were getting married and married visa.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
pressure
yeah.
itself, it is derailing.
It's annoying.
Program yaunayo iwewe for your life.
Yeah.
Forgive me, Chichi. This is what I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
The plan that you have for your life to say at this point I then want to no. There's that
To then do
intense pressure in our Zimbabwean society right now. Unomboita put on hold or aside or even throw away.
Your
I
career
like the
and
blessed
your
union that
dreams.
you have. Akuku supporter and it's still
Yeah.
allowing you to pursue your career.
Because
Very,
media
very
can
few.
be hectic.
Just to
Very,
talk
very
also
few of
about
the girl
that
child are
church
able
thing.
to stand and then say, "Apa, let me first finish this." I always say, "Varungu, why not?" Funny system, I always say when I grow up, I want to be white. Because baba. And that's the style they have. What do you, 1, 2, 3, 4, they're done.
Yeah.
They deal with all the hand-me-downs. You're not having to buy
Yeah.
uniforms. So financially, it's a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah.
But then secondly, now I'm done. This one is 7, this one is 2. They're 2 in the middle. I'm done. I'm going to do me.
Yeah.
Right.
Because number one, being a woman myself who gave birth late, my body actually even told me when I gave birth to Yaya at 37, Wagaju no care.
Wow.
Even though I've never actually don't know what it is to have a child at 22.
But you
the
can feel it. Yeah.
There's a,
It
there's-
talks to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're in a society that says, delay having kids. No.
Oh,
Because
delay.
of what- delay, first do your career, first do this. This is outside of our patriarchal Zimbabwe
That's
society.
it. Yeah.
So can
Yeah.
you imagine dilemma in Mwana Mskana?
It's so
Confusing.
confusing.
University, who still wants to be globally sensitive,
Yeah.
who still wants to be cosmopolitan and
Do their
globally
masters
relevant.
and their doctorate.
And
But
yet
also
still,
Kumba.
you're living here, in Zimbabwe, where it is.
But because Wakamirira Chini. Now, I have a question for Chichi. I have a question for Chichi. Kuti, is your name? Okay. You haven't registered your marriage. Okay, I hope I'm not getting into this too personal. But are you waiting for a white wedding? Are you planning on a white wedding? Does a white wedding mean anything to you? And would it influence you
I'm wearing black
actually
at
going, actually going to the magistrate's court, get a marriage license or bonds or whatever, and then just sign with witnesses, or with, a small bit of family, and then maybe have a wedding later? Because like what Sammy said, kuti nyaya yemuchato iyi ndo iri kumisa registration akawanda because wakamira kuti pastor.
No, to be
ndo
honest,
anosoko-
also
But
just to
also
quickly to answer Chichi, the question before Chichi does is sometimes you just get so complacent, guys. You just chill.
Yeah.
That's the honest
Until
truth.
mutemo wauya wati register
Until ndazombonzwa panda mbofamba ndozgoya kuti ndichiende kunoti dai baba boy taenda kunoti baba boy vote
Kochicha nesi.
Chanetsa zvapepi.
asudongura. It gets
No, you speak
No,
to
but
me.
you know
I'm
what?
being very honest. I'm not
Listen.
saying that's what happens in my situation.
Okay.
But
But
even if it is,
this is women. You know what? This is
You wanna
Women's
kill me?
Month, guys. This is Women's Month. Sakafanata women empowerment.
And knowledge is
This
power.
whole thing, yes, the fact you're potentially polygamous is actually his choice, not yours. It means iwewe ndiwe urifanira kuita kuti zvinhu zvikufambire. So the registration benefits you more than it benefits him.
it does.
You get what I
but
mean?
that's also why he becomes even more chilled about it, to be like, and inini you are doing ukumbomanyire chizvamboita sei chi so that's the I'm just laying out the challenge.
What's
So
the
I
challenge?
wanted to
You
know
wanna
that.
say something?
No, kuchacha kwakakosha, guys. It's very important. But for me, when we were planning to get married, I remember telling him that I would not mind on the same Rora day to sign a certificate and then we just get it over it. Because I don't feel our marriage has to be for people.
Right.
So that whole thing, yekuti totsvaga
Thank
venue, tobuda mari, koya vanhu ndikachita rice racho ranga isina kuibva, nyama yanga isina
Apa pasina kana present.
Havana kana chauya nacho. You see now. So I was so happy with just saying, you know what, muchingopedza kubvisa mari dzenyu guys, tobuda panzapa to sign and we're already married because as long as me and you were happy, then that's it.
Yeah.
So yekuti tazonzi anhu 50 ada kupururudza idrama. It's just drama. But for me now it was unfortunate because he couldn't make it, so his family came.
Okay.
But the whole time I was telling him, if you come, that's what we're doing.
Okay.
Right.
If you then come after a trend or court, Maxine, Tono sign and we're married, and that's it.
I have seen
And
women.
that's it.
Did
Who
you do
are-
that? Sorry, Abby.
No, he hasn't come. He
hasn't come yet. I have
just
seen
been-
Are
women.
you going to put a Zoom in?
Three.
If they could do that, honestly, you know what? If they could,
guys.
the whole thing. If they could allow
computerizing
it.
and doing things.
Yeah, if they could, if there was a
Guys,
key
they
something
want
to
you-
do it,
they want
we
you
could have done
physically
that.
present.
But then if you go to court, they will tell you, no, even to get the form, sometimes they'll ask you for your partner.
That's what I want to find out.
Yeah,
the
to
real-
then get the form, they'll ask you, or they'll tell you, go with the form, sign it, my passport pictures, and but then when you then bring them, bring your partner. Because I'm trying to sign it in person. And trust me, if they did it,
They need to
right now,
start.
they'll
They
sign
need
it
to
along.
incorporate it
if
in
they
their
can do
e-thing.
right now, and you obviously would be speaking from the informed background. If we can do, I've seen, I had a case recently that I had to attend, and they did the Zoom. They did Msunga Arigu. Why are we not able? Because Tatala 3 months kudara. And continuously, even in marriage, for me, I still believe in protect the girl child. Already the law, like you stated, does clearly show us kutisho. Yaga rerekira side still yevarumi. And that's just what the law is right now. So is that can she pursue that?
No, she can't. Unfortunately, marriage is a change of status. It's a change of legal status, and they are. It's like changing from legitimate to illegitimate. You cannot make a child. Tongoti aenda kwa DNA, whatever, right? And then you discover this child. So I can't name names. So then you discover that this child is actually not your biological child, right? For a guy, usually, right? So the child doesn't automatically become illegitimate. You have to go through what we call the bastardization process. You have to apply for this child to now be declared
That has
illegitimate, yes, illegitimate, kuti has a legitimate child.
Then
So, and because so my change of status are so important and they're so huge in life because they come with benefits and the withdrawal of benefits. So for you to, even when you're divorcing, you can't be divorced when you're not there. Of course. The court will say you have to be personally served, or there has to be a power of attorney, or there's a lawyer who's representing you.
Because
so in the same way,
because if I can sign it anyway, you come back and go like, but I wasn't there.
No, but we're living in a world where everything took one from my picture.
They have to
it's
find
true,
a way
but
to just...
but if it is
Yeah, come on, Zimlo, come on now.
all
And
right,
there's so
maybe
many
do you know what would be
marriages
easier?
where
Disadvantage.
Do you know what would be easier? Probably if she goes to him, they go to the ambassador, because now you've got so many marriage
Ambassador
officers.
can be, yes, of course.
Yes. So you've got all these different options that you can sort of work it out. Auntie Baba.
It's a
Baba and
man.
I, all this
what?
here.
You know what?
This
These are the
is so
things we
eye-opening.
need to think about.
Yeah.
I suppose. I
think
Because it can be, you know what, really, just, we've had people who've
But guys,
lied.
if you start putting so much law and putting so much thought and adding law into this thing, it will just complicate you.
But it's the world we
No,
live
do
in.
you know
It's
what,
a
Chichi?
shitty part.
It
It's
is,
for your
yes.
protection.
But it's the world you're going to bring your children into.
Yeah.
So if you don't empower them by, this is my take on it, babes. If you don't empower them with the practical things that are there, if you don't, from Wachiri Kudai or, if you don't do it then, this flowery, you know me and the word flowery today. This flowery thing, oh guys, it'll just complicate things. So let's just, Ajishande, because Mtemo hauna flowery. Mtemo hauna.
No, I get what you're saying. My point is, Warner, already, just after getting married traditionally, within 3 months, you're going to register.
Which you only found out today.
But, no, I knew that. I knew that. I cover law. I knew.
Of course.
Of course.
Sorry, girl.
So then, in most families, you get married, half the time, you've got 3 months, it's also to go to mchato. So half the time, 3 months actually will lapse. So I don't think you need to panic much if there's a way, if there's the thing you could say, tagara chat.
To be honest,
Hear me out. Kanata gara teach no chat. No chat.
At whatever
Or
time.
which could chat is the best option because it's monogamous. So you'd rather wait for Thank you, I like that point. That's also in my situation.
I'd rather wait for mchato uri solid.
Even yako, ine the power yakutijo. It will be non-monogamous, but you have to be. It has to be as you go into
But
it. If I got you correctly,
No, if you listen to what she's saying.
And also make a decision. Mashke koko murume. Saka inina I'd rather
I'll
wait for this
mchato wangu uri solid.
5'11".
5'11" yangu iri solid than kwenda
Guys, better confusion.
Thank you. Please
Let's
clarify.
restate this. Restate this. Okay. Kwatiri susu kachiti muchato. There are two different things. Nina mkaranga from Mashingo. Muchato means the wedding.
the white wedding.
Kunoko chinenge sekuti muchato means the marriage.
Isusu apa tikure ashise. Mchato
Kuti those things are separate.
okay.
You
Thank
have
you.
to separate them.
Thank you.
Paunobvisirwa fuma anditika, as long as you are pa unregistered customary law union, which is where wabvisirwa fuma anditika, you are potentially polygamous. It's a customary marriage. It's not a civil marriage. It will only be a civil marriage kana mando sainisa. Whether masaina kwa magistrate, muri wawiri na ma witnesses, kana kuti maenda kwa no chief anongoita ma customary chete, ma registered customary chete. But whether maenda kwa ambassador, whether maenda kwa pastor and my marriage officers, only then does it become a civil and monogamous, and both of you choose. No, it's both of you who choose. Because why would you want to kupinda mwanga vramazi?
Another chingotwo is, you know how it is in relationships, that sometimes it's the man who usually just makes a decision.
Which is a terrible thing.
Yeah, because women sometimes are also not well informed.
And we
And
relax.
you're just saying, at least in that tombo, mushita pan. Guys, kutombo mushita pan kuti atombo pan sainaga. Kuti it's a tricky one. So it's very unfortunate.
I don't believe that you guys are saying this.
No, Tino.
Wow.
We are being very realistic. It's not like
This is heartbreaking.
the other thing is Tese Tino relaxa, Tino. Just to not relax. And it's like, I've seen a lot of situations as well, in my prenups and stuff in other countries.
Here?
And even here.
Oh, by the way,
where people, it's just, it can be a very uncomfortable conversations because mna anogona kufunga you're doing it because of the material
exactly
things.
what I was saying. The more you increase
that's
low things,
that's where
you're
it's-
now making it complicated.
yeah.
You know, there are certain men.
Which
who
is-
see-
Is that man your man then?
No,
He
wait.
is.
Do you
It's
know where I
an
was taking my
uncomfortable-
point? Tino?
Finances are uncomfortable conversations.
Do you know where I was taking my point that time when I said the more we introduce and we keep talking about the law is the law. Do you know, like what Sam is saying? It's a testimony. It's a testimony.
Okay, Sam.
Listen, that's a big one already. Arora. He has now put respect on me and that's fine. Advovo vandiudza kuti muchato wedu usasheke baby nokuti takadai so takasheka kuti usasheke ini ndisafila kunge unozondita rafu tine 3 months dzekunounyoresa. Imagine.
Okay.
Because now to him I'm coming across like in the next 3 months ndogona kupulira stance. If I married you ndikukuda. So there are certain men, you know, who are just not so understanding.
Okay,
Okay,
I've got a question
There are
for
certain
Tino.
men who are not so informed about these
Wait,
things.
sorry, honey, sorry. Listen, guys. Remember, we are saying, Truku prepare. Our discussion that Truku prepare. Already, just as Jamataura, girls, Antitica, I completely hear you. But I'm looking now at saying, this is part of prayer. So is this the man for you that you have to, it testimony could happen in church. It testimony could have everything becomes. Listen, no, separate yourself from this. I'm just thinking. Separate yourself from your own relationships. Is this really when you sit back at whatever age and say, this is the one for me? Is he really? Wait. Because is he really? Dear Murumo, who's going to be with you till death do you part as what we want to think about that.
Yes, and Tinini, to add on to what Tino is saying, Tinini, I'm all about women empowerment. Ndosakatambotaura kuti single women fun, married women death. That's where
also my question comes in.
It seems as if a woman is only living to her fullest. The minute she gets into marriage, it's like ndesheku tsotsotera ndesheku.
Okay. Can I respond? Okay. As we are rounding up, I've got a question that's simple. I hope it's simple. The answer will be simple. Tino, why did you decide that you want your relationship to be more of a partnership than it is a marriage?
The man that I'm with at 44 now, Babawa Alex, mindset yake, all that I'm saying and doing, he's of the same mindset. So when I sit here saying preparing for marriage, let's say, I am completely prepared because I know the person that I can sit here and say before God and man, this is my partner. Yeah. Whether I do get the ring on it, whether I then do go and get certified, whatever you said before, I can sit here now for God and man and say that mindset, you're my partner. The mindset, my true edu, we're on that level, boss, that I know till death do me part, ring or not ring. We got this.
Guys, like recently got into this and this excitement and what chapter it was nice hanging out with these guys, but marriage I know complicated like that. And schools Amen.
Oh, so the show is over now, and that was energetic. That was exciting. You know, it was actually good. I thought it was balanced because Sam and Chichi are actually married, and Tino is in a relationship, and I am single, and so I thought it was pretty balanced. Some, you know, hectic stuff being spoken about. We have to talk about facts, and that's what we give to the people. And personally, being a lawyer, I felt that it's important that I weigh in on the law, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it absolutely because I did.
Right, so from today's episode, my one takeaway is as much as marriage is a nice thing, as much as marriage is a very great institution to be part of, there is a bit of research that some might want to do before they get into it in terms of the laws that govern the marriage and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if something that you want to do the research, figure out where you fit and what you want, and then tosangana streets and marriage. Because my husband this, my husband that, I'm